Hello and welcome to Travel Market Live. This is the Hotel Tech Clinic with Ryan Haynes as we explore some more of the technologies that are going to become center stage as we recover in the marketplace. Today, we're going to be looking at business intelligence and data with Apo Demirtas, the founder and CEO of Intelligent Hospitality. We're looking at the power of data, what this means in drowning in spreadsheets and silos, the difference between big data versus small data, and how to take strategic decision-making to a whole new level. Now, data has been renowned as perhaps, the new oil. So how valuable is data? Well, joining me now is Apo. Thank you very much for joining us today, Apo. So data's become big, essential, important. Everyone's talking about it. Even our cultural secretary here in the UK at London Tech Week.
Yes.
Said how important it was. So is this a whole new age for the industry?
Well, I'm not quite sure if it is certainly a whole new age for the industry. Is it a whole new age for the industrial world? It's absolutely not. It's just that the hotel industry is coming pretty late into the play. Hotel industry is data rich, information poor. They have a ton of data. They have all the data under the sun. It's just that they have not necessarily figured out how to get the data out of the source systems and put it through the process so it speaks to you in a lagging and leading fashion, right? And their hotel industry needs a ton of help. Even the largest hotel organizations, if you go to their hotels today, they too are drowning in the sea of Excel spreadsheets. They cannot answer some of the basic business questions if you ask them. Somebody would have to go into their office and crunch, quote unquote, the data in Excel, which is a manual tool, and they come and tell you. By the time they come and tell you the answer, it's old news already because business moves fast. So data, the notion and the power of data has always been there. It's just that hotel industry is so far behind when it comes to really harnessing the power of it.
I mean, I've worked in the industry now for over 15 years. And I remember, back then talking about spreadsheets and the need for them to be able to download and consolidate and blah, 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 blah. And I thought, wow, this seems like it's becoming a hell of a lot more complex than it ever really needs to be. And, we've seen a lot of new systems come along now where you're not downloading spreadsheets anymore. You're not even seeing the actual numbers. You're just seeing visual representations of what the data is essentially telling you. Right. Why do you think hoteliers have taken so long to actually move from these spreadsheets into these more intelligent systems that actually do the crunching for you?
Great question. They haven't actually made that move quite yet, right? It's happening. It started to happen, but it's happening slowly. I'll tell you the reason why. It's just look at my background. I went to a hotel school. I have a vocational diploma, high school diploma in hotel business. I have a bachelor's degree in hotel business. I have a master's degree in hotel business. When I started my career, I started as a page boy, right, at age 15. And so we, as hoteliers, we're raised as quote unquote artists in our own domain, right? And we stay there. We become incredible operators and we become incredible P&L, profit and loss managers, right? But when it comes to making decisions based on a data-driven insight, we cannot be any more feeble because it's not in our DNA, right? I can pull up a flambe card here, put up an incredible flambe show for you because that's my training, right? But what really misses in that equation, what's grossly missing in that equation is that knowledge of business science and how it is applied in your day-to-day operation, especially commercially speaking, in hotel business. So for that reason, I went ahead and did my PhD, doctorate in applied economics. And that was the only reason why I did that, because I was tired of being just an artist. I also wanted to become a business scientist in hotel business, right? That is the reason. So if you take a look at the evolution of leadership within hotel business, they start out as like I did, page boy or bus boy or whatever that might be, become a food and beverage director or rooms division director, become a general manager, senior VP operations. and ultimately CEO, right? And but what's really missing in that journey is that business science component. Now, you look at companies like Hilton, where they are bringing CEOs from outside of the industry. While that is a step in the right direction, the leadership underneath is not changing. The leadership underneath is still are those that are coming from again from the ground, and people are making their way up in to higher levels. That is really the reason. It's the lack of knowledge and lack of vision in analytics and in business science, I think, is the reason where we are today.
I mean, you know, in some ways that is the beauty of the hotel, right? That there is still a career ladder there, that people can still climb up the ranks, even if they haven't necessarily graduated from a university in hospitality. But, you know, how much do people really need to be trained into data science and data analytics? And how much do they need, like yourself, to have to go and do a PhD? You know, there must be ways of being able to sort of crunch this data and to be able to own that information without having to go through that very, you know, complicated process, I guess, for many people who may not have the necessarily intellectual ability to do that.
Right. So in that case, what you do is you don't necessarily need to master in those areas, right? You just need to have the vision. You know, as a leader, as a general manager of a hotel, you're a leader. As a director of sales and marketing at a hotel, you're a leader. As a director of revenue management, you're a leader. As a CEO or senior VP operations in a hotel organization, you are a leader. So you don't necessarily need to master in data science and applied economics like I did. What you need to do is really have the vision and go and find the right partners to help you in that journey. Right. I mean, we don't expect people to become economists. We expect people to have the vision to really think about how they can harness the power of that data. Not necessarily always repeat what they've done, but think out of the box and think multidimensionally in terms of making decisions. That's what we expect, really. I mean, expecting people to go through the same journey that I did, it's not reasonable.
No, I mean, I was talking to a hotelier just recently as we've been recording the new series that's coming soon, Hotelier's Voice. And, you know, one of the things that they've done is sort of implement a whole new property management system. And with that tech stack that's able to connect to it. And now at 6:30 every morning, they're receiving, you know, all the data that they need in the spreadsheets that they needed in order for them to do the analysis they need. They no longer need someone to come in and compile all of that data. But, you know, I guess this needs to go one step further, doesn't it? Surely you don't want to be dealing with these spreadsheets, but you want to be able to react to this information and make decisions on it. And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So what's the next step from that?
Oh, that's excellent. I mean, you nailed it. That's exactly what it is, right? So nobody should be keying in any information anywhere. Nobody should be using a tool like Excel. With all due respect to Excel, Excel was introduced by Microsoft in 1985. And we in hotel business work as if it is still 1985. It's not, right? We're in the 21st century. We've been to the moon in 1969. Right, so we're intelligent human beings. We need to create these tools, these software, like we have in our company, Hotel IQ Business Intelligence, so that it does all the work that you're supposed to do. In fact, it goes well above that, well beyond that, by using very unique analytics and metrics. It does things that a human being cannot do, even with a tool like Excel. So that's where the industry needs to be, and that movement has already started, right? But then again, it starts with vision. We come across with hotel companies, they come and say, okay, well, this is what we do in Excel. Can you just automate that for us? But this is not just a matter of automating what you already do. This is about taking you well beyond that, right? Business intelligence and data analytics, this is not just about reporting. You're not reporting what happened in the past. This is also intelligence and insight about leading information, right? That And what that means is having robust predictive capability that'll actually guide you into your future decision making, not just purely based on historical information, but also based on future trends and activity.
And one of the things is that, data has sat in its own silos for a very long time. Departments have handled their own reports, but we're at a point where you need to look at the business holistically. I mean, again, I was speaking to a hotelier yesterday and I said to, oh, you must have had a bad year for revenue. And he goes, well, actually, our bookings have been pretty strong. It's a German hotel because they've not been on any red lists, right, for most countries. So
That's
you've
right.
still got a lot of foreign tourists going in and out. And they said that they have made more money on ancillary revenues than at any other time in the past. And this has just been in 2 months rather than the usual 4-month season. And it's because they've been able to consolidate all their reports and see what's happening throughout the business. And, I guess that, hoteliers now, they need that flexibility. They need greater agility. They need to see which part of their business is performing and where to put greater emphasis on that, and whether they pivot and change as a type of hotel as what they are. I guess this gives you this is the power and the insight that it gives you.
That's exactly right. Look, as I mentioned before, hotel industry is data-rich information forward. That's just an incredible phenomenon that we experience today. Now, the data that we have is, again, not just historical, but also forward-looking. And harnessing the power of that forward-looking data and bringing a unique business analytics, business science analytics into it so that it actually guides you is really, really critical. Now, what you just mentioned about this German hotel company or hotelier, it's they're looking at this in their rear view mirror. Imagine that you actually know what's going to happen before it does.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that can only happen through the power of data, right? And so you talked about ancillary revenues. Now, knowing ancillary revenues, and there's a metric called room revenue multiplier, meaning that $1 spent on room, how much revenue is generated somewhere else within the hotel is an important metric. But imagine that you understand that at a very granular level. Imagine that you understand what the room revenue multiplier is for Brits, for Americans, right? For Italians. Do Italians spend more while they're staying in the hotel than Americans, right? If so, within what room type? If so, within what length of stay? Do those that stay 3 nights spend more in terms of ancillary revenue than those that stay only 1 night from a room revenue multiplier standpoint? So these are really, really important. And I've given you just one small, tiny example. Really important metrics to understand. And 9, in fact, even bigger percentage, 9 out of 10 hotels don't even have that information. They have the data, Ryan. They don't have the information.
It's really interesting because I've discussed this on a revenue management perspective for many, many years. But from a marketing perspective, it's also incredibly insightful. Who are you marketing to? Who's your most valuable customer? Who should you be bringing into the bookings and targeting in your marketing campaigns? And to go back to the types of data here, there's 2 things that you mentioned was a difference between big data versus small data. Firstly, can you just explain the difference between the 2?
Excellent question there again. We in the industry, a lot of people too, we just flock behind whatever the buzzwords are. And today it's big data, right? Everybody talks about big data. And technology companies, those that have never worked in a hotel a day in their lives, but they're technology companies, they throw all that stuff at hoteliers. Big data, that notion just continues big time. And us as hoteliers, we're very trusting, and we tend to flock behind whatever buzzwords are of today. Now, big data is heavily misunderstood by a lot of the hoteliers. When we talk about big data, we listen to what the technology companies are saying. So they throw everything at us under the sun. Whether that is airline data, whether that is weather data, whether there is, again, any kind of spending data. But how do you take that all, right, and bring it down to a unit level and have that speak to a hotelier? So just throwing data at hoteliers is not enough. Really, you need to have all the data elements and data pieces, which is the new oil, as you mentioned before, and have that really speak to hotelier. You cannot do that unless you're doing that at a small data level. So the key there is understanding the power of small data and putting it through a process so that it speaks at a micro level, and then you roll it up from there. At that time, it becomes big data, really. So I often tell hoteliers that not to really get confused with big data. I was speaking with another hotel company the other day. They're receiving all the airline data and they don't know what to do with it. And yet, airline data is really not that critical. What happens to airlines, for example, is just a byproduct of changes in the overall economy. When airlines start slowing down, you'll see that impact in your bookings anyway. Long story short, the focus needs to be on small data, not big data. Big data is important when you're trying to come up with macroeconomic trends. We don't play in macroeconomy. Hotels play in microeconomy. So you need to take a look at the unit level activity. So for that reason, I favor small data over big data.
And now, Apo, I mean, this is something that I've heard you say a couple of times, actually. It's like navigating a ship currently on a stormy night.
Yes.
Before all of this, you had clear night, you had the stars, you knew how to get to your destination. Whereas now we've got no idea what we're looking up to. But even take that one step further, as you say, the difference between small and big data, that even on a starry night, which stars do you follow? If you're lucky enough to see the stars, that is, of course.
That's exactly right. I mean, I use that analogy quite often, and that's, I think, it says it all, doesn't it? On a clear night, everything is beautiful, clear skies. Yes, you can find your way. You might find your way. You might get lost by looking at the stars to navigate yourself, or you can use the GPS to get to your destination. But right now, it's the stormiest night ever, right? Due to COVID-19. What are you going to do? You cannot even see the stars. You need that GPS, and that GPS is a business intelligence software.
And I was actually having a conversation as well. I speak to a lot of people, and I was talking to two friends of mine who run holiday rentals. They've got a farm. They got 3 holiday rentals. And back in January, when I saw them, we sat down. They said, what can we do to bring and increase our occupancy and revenue? And obviously went through the plan, and COVID hit. I had a conversation with them, and they've just said that this has been the most successful year that they have ever had. They have no idea what they're doing or how they're planning or how they're managing occupancy and rates. They're just taking each day as it comes. But as a business, that's quite dangerous, because, as you say, you could end up underselling, overselling, and this data really is able to give you that forecast where you're able to flex with how the markets are really behaving. And I guess that gives you the insights as well from an operational perspective, is making those strategic decisions on where to invest most within your particular property.
That's exactly right. And a good example of that would be one of the hotel companies that we onboarded. It's an entire brand, WoodSpring Suites, here in the United States, 120 plus hotels, right? We literally finished onboarding all of them right before the pandemic, right before it. And I was speaking with the head of commercial for the company. He was telling me that Hotel IQ, our software, has helped them navigate through these uncharted waters and help them outperform their competition. He, before that conversation, he went ahead and put a public post on LinkedIn without even telling us that how they. Yes, and then I called him up to thank him for putting such a post out there publicly on LinkedIn. And the name of his company is Nationwide Hotels. It's a prime example of how this organization is a prime example of how data, not just data, we keep saying data, but data is nothing. It's a whole bunch of ones and zeros. Data is literally nothing. It is something if you put it through a process, it speaks to you, regardless. This hotel company is a prime example. Nationwide Hotel Management Company is how data-driven insight can really help you successfully navigate through some really uncharted waters.
Well, Apo, thank you very much for explaining to us a bit more about business intelligence and the importance for that, particularly for hoteliers today. You're going to be joining us on the upcoming live Hotel Tech Clinic event on the 6th of October, where we're going to be exploring business intelligence from multiple perspectives for the hotel industry with 4 other participants who will also be joining me on these podcasts. So, do check out the future episodes. And as I said, Apo, you run a company called Intelligent Hospitality
Yes.
with a product called Hotel IQ.
Yes, we do.
Well, again, thank you very much indeed. It was lovely to talk to you today.
You as well. Thank you so much, Ryan. I appreciate the opportunity.
Don't forget to check out more of our episodes on travelmarket.life. We've got a whole series there for you looking at different technologies within the hotel space. And we're also exploring the different sectors within the travel space. And we've just done a couple of episodes, one looking at trust accounts, particularly for consumer money. And we've got another one coming up soon that is going to be our first ever magazine show, where we're going to be talking about the airline industry and some of the key developments that have happened in the travel sector over the last couple of weeks. So that's Travel Market Life. My name's Ryan Haynes. Thanks for listening. Ciao for now.